Okay. And it can also be edited, right? Thank you so much. Okay, so class, we just went over the basic questions that one asks in the field of journalism, and we have two guests here today. The first guest will be Mr. Kenly Dillard, one of the fastest sketch artists in the world. In the year 2004, he was beat out by a Japanese sketch artist. We're going to be asking him some questions. First, he'll just introduce himself, and he's going to try to relate what he does as an artist to storyboarding. And storyboarding generally happens in motion picture. When the script is written, you want to get a visual representation of what a scene would look like. It kind of facilitates the process when it comes to the cinematographer, the camera person, and the director. It takes a lot of work, it really does, because you have to have vision. It's not just being able to have the abilities to sketch, but the ability to see things in perspective. Also, when a writer or director dictates to Ken what a scene is supposed to look like, he has to visualize it. You know? Unless the director says, look, I want the sofa here, I want the light here, you know, I want this kind of block in between three characters. He has to do that. So it takes a lot of skill and talent. We can also speak about his experience with Walt Disney. Hopefully it won't get you in trouble, huh?
If it does, who cares?
So I want to introduce, with no further ado, Mr. Kenly Dillard.
Okay. Wow, where do I begin? I was born and raised here in Brooklyn, New York. Actually, it says the Bronx, but I was raised in Brooklyn. I always wanted to be a cartoonist. I always knew what I wanted to do. It wasn't like something where, you know how it is with young kids, they're usually doodling and whatnot and not really sure what they want to do with their life. Well, I never had that problem. I always knew what I wanted. I've always worked hard at it. I grew up with a family of artists. My Uncle Floyd is actually a famous Brooklyn artist. His name is Floyd Sapp, and he's known for doing murals all over New York City. He used to paint portraits for Muhammad Ali. He used to paint portraits for Nelson Mandela before he was in jail, and after he came out of jail back in 1990, he even did the poster. My father, illustrator, he almost worked for Tales of the Crypt, the EC magazine. He didn't go through with it, but his presence, things that he done, he always used to draw me pictures, and I'm like, wow, you know, I want to be great just like my dad, just like the people in my family, my grandfathers, everybody. I want to keep that legacy going, and I always had this fire inside me that nothing's ever going to stop me from being who I am. As I got older, eventually I went to the High School of Art and Design, where I majored in cartooning. There, I started to learn somewhat of the craft, but for some reason the teachers weren't really answering my questions, certain things that would later on find out that I had to develop and to experience on my own. So I went to the library, learned from books, practiced every day, drew every day. I learned the art of caricature by going on the train every day, drawing people on the train, whether it made them feel good or not. You know, I wasn't really sure about boundary issues as a kid, but until I got older, I didn't realize what type of boundaries I was crossing and what type of people will try to cross the boundaries that I've set for myself. But it was a great experience. I learned how to draw people that way. At age 13, my mother, I used to be a big Nintendo fan. You know, I used to ask my parents for video games and stuff like that. Until I got older, 13 years old, my mom, you know, she didn't want to buy me Super Mario Brothers anymore. She didn't want to do those types of things because she knew that sooner or later I would need to know what it's like to go out there and earn a living and make money. So the first thing she did, my first paying gig was at the West India Day Parade of 1993. And she made me go out there and I would paint faces of all the people that were coming in. And I actually had to earn money to get that Nintendo and whatnot. And once I finally got enough money to get that Super Mario Brothers 3 and whatnot, you know, I really didn't want to play video games anymore. I figured, you know, it would be wise if I invested the money into art supplies. Went, got me a whole set of markers, professional markers, and from then on, you know, I decided, you know, Nintendo is nice, but I really want to devote myself to my artwork, you know, where I can make money, so I don't have to ask people for things. Now, I kind of got rushed down to earth, like once I finished art and design and, you know, started doing caricatures for birthday parties and whatnot. I decided, you know, maybe I was trying to decide whether or not it was a good idea to go to college. So basically what happened was that I took some time off. I ended up going out on the street, Central Park, Times Square, doing caricatures of passerbyers. And I was thinking, while I was doing that, I got to really see what type of people, what people really looking for. You know, because when I was growing up, I used to look at Mad Magazine. I used to look at the cartoons, portraits done of celebrities and whatnot. I'm like, wow, that really looks like the person and whatnot. But what I found with some tourists, they don't really want it to look like them. You know, they don't really want to have their so-called faults or whatever it is. They don't really seem pleasing about themselves to be recognized. So I had to battle me trying to please the customer and also me trying to be honest with myself on what I see and how I see it. So time went on. Eventually I entered this contest with the help of my really good family because I didn't have the funds at the time to make it down to this particular competition. It was for World's Fastest Caricaturist in 2004. Fortunately, my family helped me out to get down there, but I did not know what I was actually in for. There was about 60 other artists from all around the world that was competing. Majority of them were Japanese, the majority of them were from Brazil too, and some of them are from Florida working for Disney, and I didn't even know they worked for Disney and whatnot. And here I am, this guy coming off the street from Times Square, just drawing passerbyers, you know, about to compete with these very top-notch cartoonists. You know, and I made it through the first 3 rounds. The first round, I really wasn't sure because I'd never been in any such a type of competition before. And to find out that I advanced, I'm like, okay, you know, I can really have a shot at winning whatever it is that I was going to win. Second round, some artists were eliminated because I guess they weren't fast enough. In the third round, there was like down to like 5 artists. 3 of them being Japanese, and 2 of them being from, one from Brooklyn, that would be me, and the other person was from Disney. In that last round, I didn't really know where these guys were coming from because I was so used to battling a lot of the Orientals that were in Times Square and whatnot. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna do what I do. Found out that I was the only person from any other country to win, and the first 2 people to win were from Japan and whatnot. Now, the first question was, as soon as I went, I was so excited. I'm like, because I wasn't expecting this. You know, I called up my sister, and she was like, oh, congratulations that you got 3rd place, but who got the first 2? Oh, it's from Japan. She's like, from Japan, Senichi Miyachi. Like, oh, yeah, well, you know, Japanese are good at stuff like that. And then it posed another question to me, what does my ethnicity have to do with my skills? And my anger started to like kind of like creep up on me because the more and more I told people like, oh, Japanese are good at things like that. My real anger was the fact that when I got 3rd place, the Japanese seemed more excited about me placing than anybody else that I have told from America. That really said a lot because the Japanese was calling me a champion. They were telling me how great I was and how, you know, they respected my artwork and how they respected my technique. But if I told somebody from Brooklyn or I told somebody, like, well, we were expecting that to happen. So I began to become really, 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 really angry. And I had to look up, keep my head up and say, you know what? I won because of my skills. I may have not gotten #1, but I gave my first-rate performance, and that first-rate performance was good enough for somebody from Walt Disney to come up to me and say, you know what, you're really fast, and you're really talented, and you have a good eye for detail. How would you like to work for Walt Disney, the Walt Disney Company? That was my all-time dream. That was something I told myself that I was going to do when I was like 4 years old. I've always told my parents I was going to do that. I've always told my family, friends, anybody that really knows me know that that's what I was aiming for. That's the only reason why I would have went to college, was to work for Walt Disney. And it just came to me. And the one black that actually almost succeeded at Walt Disney as far from a nationwide standpoint was the guy who played Uncle Remus on Song of the South. And he wasn't even allowed to accept the Academy Award in 1948 because he was black.
Given the armor god fights a small army of demons for the fate of a lady friend.
Okay. Now, what would you want the first scene to look like?
Kind of dark and drastic to a point where he's going all out.
a warrior, right?
Yeah.
Basically fighting to protect his loved one,
Yeah.
right? From these demons.
Yeah.
Okay.
Monsters of different shapes and all that.
Oh, okay.
So just do that one frame, and then we'll move on.
Chalk for that?
We'll move on to someone else. We might have enough. He has enough chalk?
Yeah, I could work it in there. Any second now.
You're watching them in living color, right before your eyes. See how fast that is? I mean, come on now.
Over there. Then I'm gonna have the monsters coming from this end.
And he's thinking mentally as he's doing it, on your idea. For guys like him get paid. Bring an emotional picture script.
I'm excited. See, you should have emailed me about this. I would have brought my little camera, taking snapshots of this.
Well, you got this. I'll give you a copy.
All different sizes. See, with stuff like this, I gotta think compositionally.
Right. Yeah, you can think out loud. That's fine.
Okay, great. How many you need? Like this much? Sorry, it's probably
Inverted pyramid.
All right. Okay. All right. Shaniqua, you got an idea for Mr. Kenly?
All right, one day there were 3 kids that strolled upon an old theater. They came across a small black box, and when they opened it, it unleashed many magical things.
Got it. Oh, okay. So this all takes place in the theater, correct?
Yeah, old theater, something, whatever.
So it'd be 3 kids, correct?
Yes.
We'll focus on the main event here. He's kind of like moved back with his one kid over here, like, wow. And of course, the center of attention is that box. And then you have the other kid kind of like looking in, like, yeah.
He's like, yeah.
You see, when I do
so
things like
cool.
that, I gotta be in the moment mentally.
Right.
Like, I actually have to be in that movie theater.
Right, see that?
That's pretty cool.
He became an audience. From the audience's perspective.
Like, my whole philosophy is to think like a camera draw like a machine. So what I would do is, pretty close to like a VCR, I would see the drawing in my mind, like a cartoon, and then I would freeze frame it at that right moment. And then in the back, just to indicate that it's some type of movie theater,
Right.
I would have like the seats.
That's good.
It's pretty much, it could be like, you know how where they usually have like the projectors and whatnot? It could be the door that they entered
Right.
the projection room and whatnot. Like, the more detailed you can create the script, the more detail I can get to fit your story. That's why communication is like very important when you're doing this kind of stuff.
All right.
All right.
Very good. Give it up for him again.
I was just saying, I said about the desert, and about somebody looking for water, like it's windy and stuff, like somebody like walking through a desert, basically.
Walking through a desert.
And they need water in
Yeah,
there.
it's like the sun is glaring on them.
Okay. All right. The one word from the story you just told me, the one word that comes to mind is desperation.
Okay.
All right. Now, walking through the desert but looking for water. I got an idea for that. Being that desperation and thirst and need, usually I envision somebody with a hand out for something that is not there. And it's kind of like a over-the-shoulder shot. And you want to use a long shot because just to make it look like he or she is walking more than what they have to. Of course, you got the sun that's blazing. But let's say also, while that is blazing, we're going to have some water right over there, just for detail effect. Sand coming off the hand. You want to create that long shot. This way it looks further away than what it really is. This illusion stuff is no joke. Okay? Yeah, that's part of the process. Any type of art you're going to do.
It's editing. To refine it, to reach perfection.
Like in Disney, they refine things all the time. You know, it doesn't matter who you work for. You're going to create something. You want to make sure that it's very clear to your audience, but it has to be clear to you and the people that you're working with, communicating with first.
So how do you relate? As an educator, how do you relate writing to what you do in terms of sketching?
Oh, okay. Well, definitely. What a lot of people don't realize about writing is that when you're writing, you're using words to create pictures in people's minds. That's what any good book will do. If the person can see it in their mind, there's a better chance of them believing it, even if it sounds like ridiculous. Now with drawing, it's the opposite, but yet has the same function. I'm drawing words.
That's amazing.
Okay, so once you understand those two things, as a writer, you'll become a better writer, you know, and you'll be better to direct people because people can see in their mind like, oh, okay, that's what he or she means. You know, that's really what that is.
Very good. Another one? Give it up for that one.
A mobster and a nun are standing on the street corner. A bank had just been robbed, and they are conversing about it. The woman short and petite, the mobster tall and slim. Under the street light, they stand. All of a sudden, she pulls out a gun and shoots him. Dead.
The entertainment companies seem to do. They take something that is innocent, like a nun, and then they mix it up with something that is dangerous, you know, like a mobster. That creates an interesting story because contrast, you know, that's what it's really all about. So, very good also.
So we spoke about the antagonist and the protagonist. That's what that is, right?
Yes. But also contrast.
And contrast.
Contrast. Okay. So, in this case,
oh, that's awesome. Give it up for us.
Her name is Daisy. One day, she's a successful lawyer. The next day, she finds herself in a dark, creepy room. She is unable to move due to the shackles tied around her ankles. There is a TV in the corner. She tries to move towards it, and the doll states, "Hello, Daisy. Oh, I want to play a game."
Creativity?
and she's tied up and everything, right? Yeah. All right, here we go.
That was awesome.
Going back to my own experience, like when I look at anything, because I believe in associations and stuff, especially when I'm drawing, you got to be able to relate one thing to another. Like something like this, I've seen in hostage scenes in movies and stuff like that. But I'm also thinking of so many different influences too, like the Twilight Zone. Like, you ever seen that episode with Talking Tina? And
yeah.
the doll who can like come to life, and then you have Chucky.
Yeah.
Oh, Chucky.
See, that's why I stopped shopping at Toys R Us.
Those are scary.
But also that eye contact.
That was a girl version of my. I had that.
If you're gonna draw it looking creepy, I'm gonna draw her eyes bigger.
Okay, let's talk. Yeah, she cool. We had to change something.
And she's looking right at her, and then she's gotta look evil because she's pretty evil. Oh, to make things even more interesting,
Yeah, go
you
ahead.
didn't mention this, but we're gonna have her with something just to make her even look more creepy. But you can always change that, being that you're the director. Have her like change.
His dog. Look like movies.
She might have like a little knife or something.
Okay, who's got another one?
He's gonna have his like a little flag. Like let's say in the story, instead of having the American flag or like, let's say the NWO actually did happen and they have the world with one one flag.
Like the Brazilian flag is like that.
Right.
With the earth on it.
Yeah.
And as soon as he's about to put the flag on the ground,
It's a wrap.
he sees people who are enslaved. Matter of fact, I'm gonna have his eye, because he's gonna notice the alien. Oh, here's a real kicker. Imagine if the alien looked like the animals, like a dog or something.
Oh, wow.
And humans are like slaves.
Don't call me Cujo.
But see, the planet Earth blew up already, so you can't get back home.
The Earth tonight. And you have the dog there. And you have another back of somebody else's head right here with the whatchamacallit. Oh, and last but not least, I know we're gonna go off border, but I have a better idea too. Here, right? You're gonna have the spaceship towing stuff. That's how the rocket looks like this. Cane. And it's getting taken in by a saucer. I'm going into more detail, but we don't have too much time. Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
A ballet dancer
Okay.
is going around killing clowns.
Oh, nice. Okay.
She carries this big knife, and she goes around to kill clowns. That's it.
All
I don't
right.
have
All
a
right,
concept,
here we
but
go.
that's
It's all right. That's enough. That's enough.
There we go.
Wow, look at his face.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying.
Wow.
It's sad.
Like, now your back will match your nose.
Pass the ketchup.
Dun, dun, dun.
And then she get caught and the judge is a
She's never
clown.
gonna get caught. She-
How do you plead?
she can fly.
Clown? I'm not clown.
Oh, people are nuts. Nice.
Oh yeah, that's to
Nice.
add an extra effect. Alright, there's his nose, right? You know you have like those clown noses that be dangling off? Normally I could clean up these drawings, but here you go.
Very good. Give it up for him. One more. He's gonna videotape me, videotaping him and the class. Right where I am. Right where I am. You see where I am? Right here.
He almost done.
It's right here. Right? And that's Troy.
Work in the courtroom. Yes.
Look at that. Wow.
Wow.
I know. Isn't that something? That's incredible.
Yo.
He's got my hands right where it is too.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, I put the pinstripes.
Yeah. I know, that's too much detail. Stop now. This is incredible.
You gotta put the same Big Mac.
He's drawing. He's drawing. Them back there. He's drawing now.
Whoever's behind me, right? The background. He got out. Sure. Well, he can't see you though.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
More than anything.
That's awesome.